You?
Most people have dreamt of the perfect wedding since they were younger, but have you ever thought of all the work that actually goes into planning the perfect wedding? Today I'm going to tell you the 4 simple steps to the perfect wedding. Although I'm only 16 years old and unmarried, I've been around weddings my entire life. My cousin is a wedding planner and always lets me help out, but that's not the only time I've been around them. I've been in multiple weddings since I was younger. Most people plan on getting married someday, and if not, it's interesting to know all the work that gets put into actually getting married. Today I'm going to tell you the 4 simple steps to a simple wedding. First, pick a date and set a budget. Next, decide what you need to buy. Thirdly, booking and reserving. And finally, make sure everything's in order for your special day. But before you can have your special day, you need to plan your special day, which brings us to our first step. The first step to planning the perfect wedding, according to Denise Shapani in her step-by-step guide to planning your wedding, is make the announcement, pick a date, and set a budget. Before you can decide on who, where, or what, you need to decide when. Get an idea of what season, month, or even week you want to have your wedding, and you'll decide on an exact date later in time. Next, set a budget so you can start making plans that involve purchasing. Once you have an idea of how much you want to spend, you can start shopping, which brings us to our next step. You have several things you need to buy for the wedding, such as flowers, cake, decorations, dresses, tuxes, wedding bands, and much more. Also know who you want in your wedding, from the maid of honor, the bridesmaids, to the best men and the groomsmen. You can have several people in your wedding or just a few friends and family. But first, before you do that, you have to pick out which colors you want in your wedding. Make a list so you know and you can match things accordingly. After a color has been decided, you must get to shopping. The ladies will get the bridesmaids, flower girl, and wedding dress, of course, while the men get the tuxes. You can buy your wedding attire in bridal magazines such as The Knot or Martha Stewart Weddings if you don't want to buy them in the store. Also, the bride and groom need to get their wedding bands. After deciding what everyone is going to wear, you need to get the flowers, cake, and decorations. You can go to the florist and pick out flowers that match the colors you've already decided you want in your wedding. Next, you can get your decorations in bridal magazines or at the bridal store. And finally, you need to go to the bakery to get your cake. You can taste as many cakes as you want until you find the perfect one. But before you can have the cake, you need somewhere to eat your cake. This brings us to step 3, which is finding a place for your wedding and reception, along with finding out who you want at your wedding and reception. Also, you need to reserve vendors, a photographer, and a band or a DJ. Now that you have the decorations, you need somewhere for them to go. You can have your wedding in many different places, like a church, at the beach, even in your parents' backyard. But you need to find a place for your reception after your wedding, and you need to reserve it right away. It is now time for finalizing the guest list and picking out your invitations. You need to know everyone you want at your wedding. After you make the list, make sure to go over it with your parents because you don't want to leave out anyone, even that weird cousin you haven't talked to in years. Now that you know everyone you want at your wedding, you have to pick out the invitations you want to send. Before you send them out, proofread them and check them over so there's no errors. You also need the vendors and photographers for your wedding. If you don't know where to start, The Knot Wedding Planning 30 Tips and Tricks says that one vendor will lead you to another. The photographer will tell you which florist blooms really pop, and your reception manager should know which band or DJ packs the dance floor. You need to reserve the vendors so they can provide the food, silverware, and dishes for the wedding and reception. Make sure you don't just order them. You have to know if you like their food and if you actually want to have it at your wedding. Also, you need a photographer. Again, before you just hire some random photographer, look at their photos. Ask to see another wedding or an event that they've done to make sure that they actually take nice photographs that you want for your wedding. You need to make sure everything is perfect. One of the last preparations is to find a band to perform or a DJ to spin those sick beats. Once you decide who you want, make sure you book them right away, because if you don't, they may become unavailable for the date you've picked for your wedding. This brings us to our last step. Now that everything is all set and ready for your wedding, there are just a few small things you need to do. And here comes the guide's wedding checklist. The last things you need to do before your wedding day is make sure everything is all set. You don't want anything to get misplaced or unbooked. And relax before your wedding day. Since the wedding is not far off, make sure everything is all set. Call and make sure the decorations, reception hall, the band, even the vendors. Make sure that you haven't forgotten your date or haven't gotten it confused. Since I have now told you how to plan the perfect wedding in 4 simple steps, you know what to do in the future. Now, if you're faced with having to plan a wedding, you will not be overwhelmed and you'll know what to do. Having the perfect wedding is sharing the perfect day with someone that you love. Kim Jong-il once said, "Flowers bloom whenever their eyes meet each other and whenever they depend on each other." What does it matter if they wed in the snow or in the rain? They have each other to support and love, and that's all that should matter.